Hello everyone, my name's Peter Graham. I'm the Director of Sales and Partnerships for Voyages Indigenous Tourism Australia. And firstly, isn't it fantastic we're at ATE and would love to have had our Victorian and inbound partners with us, but unfortunately they're not. But we are be able to do that through streaming with them, so welcome. Firstly, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Aurora Nation, traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Partnering with Indigenous communities has been the core principle of the Indigenous Land and Sea Corporation, the owners of Voyages Indigenous Tourism Australia, and is a key objective of Voyages, whose products include Ayers Rock Resort and Mossman Gorge Centre, where our Indigenous team members represent 40 and 68% of our total employees respectively. In today's session, I'm going to touch on consultation and engagement, time and patience, cultural advisor, one size doesn't fit all, and the future. Consultation and engagement. This is crucial. If you don't get it right from the outset, it really has the potential to limit both the immediate opportunity and the future, which in reality isn't too different to the development of corporate relationships. However, what may appear to be small things are actually significant. For example, learning and understanding cultural protocols before engaging. Build relationships slowly. Have regular meetings with the traditional owners and representatives of the corporations that represent the interest of communities. Consult with them. Share your ideas. Ask for initial opinions. And don't expect expansive responses and immediate commitment. At Voyages, we learned a really valuable lesson in the importance of consultation not too long after we were purchased by the Indigenous Land and Sea Corporation. Following the purchase, we thought it'd be culturally appropriate if the name Ayers Rock Resort was changed to Uluru Resort to reflect the Unanu name. Thankfully, rather than just assuming this would be okay and making the change, we engaged a cultural advisor to guide us on the process, one which would take numerous months. On our behalf, the advisor met with representatives of the Uluru family and explained Voyage's request. Following consultation between family members, the advisor was told that Uluru is a family name and the resort isn't the family's, so it shouldn't be called Uluru Resort. Now, while initially surprised, the rationale made total sense and is why the name Ayers Rock Resort continues today. Also, by appropriately and respectfully engaging, we prevented implementing a change that wasn't going to be culturally appropriate. Time and patience. The process of developing a partnership with Indigenous communities is not unlike that of a traditional corporate relationship, with the exception of time. Time and patience will be fundamental to its success and will most likely require an introduction and validation from an intermediary who is trusted by the community for even the first meeting to be secured. It is rare a decision by one representative of a community, it is rare a decision is made by just one member of the community. Decisions are made by consensus by the respective elders. Therefore, time needs to be allowed for these key stakeholders to meet, and that meeting may not be scheduled for a couple of months. It's really important to remember your time frame isn't driving the process. Also, it wouldn't be unusual for a face-to-face meeting with the community's traditional owners not to happen until there has been a number of prior meetings where the concept has been discussed and feedback provided to the intermediary. So as much as the desire will be there to meet in person so you or we can tell the story of the concept that we have, it is important to wait for the appropriate time if you want the best chance of a partnership developing. Cultural advisors. Cultural advisors really add a lot of value. They represent a reliable sense check of initial concepts and plans, and if they feel appropriate, will take these ideas to the community's traditional owners on your behalf. Using Mossman Gorge as an example, we've been incredibly fortunate to have had Kuku Yalanji elder Roy Gibson as a cultural advisor since before we opened, since the planning stages of Mossman Gorge Centre. In fact, it was Roy's vision of wanting to create a tourism business to share the Kuku Yalanji culture, its history, while providing employment opportunities for the community. And this was absolutely the driving force of the development and the partnership with the Indigenous Land and Sea Corporation. As mentioned earlier, a cultural advisor is really an intermediary, respected by both the local community and your business, who will provide valuable insight and guidance as to the potential acceptance of a concept, which can save a lot of time. For example, providing an early indication of whether a concept you think is an absolute winner, a surefire bet, may struggle to be embraced or approved by the community. Cultural advisors assist in maintaining respectful relationships with local communities, as they will provide guidance as to the paths to go down and those that won't be or will not be warmly welcomed. One size doesn't fit all. Indigenous communities differ from one to another, so what may work in one community may not be appropriate in another. Therefore, when looking to develop partnerships, it is important to firstly listen to the advice of locals and adapt your plans to align with the culture of the community. At Ayers Rock Resort, as well as working directly with the local Ananu community, where we currently have 24 Ananu employees, we also partner with Marriku Arts, a successful Indigenous-owned and operated art and tourism business based in the Mutijulu community located in Uluru Katajuda National Park. Marriku offers crafted dot painting classes for FIT and group travellers, as well as tailored Indigenous cultural experiences for the business events segment. Voyages promotes and sells these Marriku products through our distribution channels. The future. We talk about, I'm not sure if you've heard of the National Indigenous Trading Academy. And where we created that, this was created in 2011 in November, after we became Voyages Indigenous Tourism Australia. And we recognise that engaging with Indigenous culture is an important part of most travellers' plans, particularly the inbound traveller. At Ayers Rock Resort, we offer Indigenous experiences through structured and unstructured engagement opportunities. Structured by the way of Ayers Rock Resort's complimentary Indigenous guest activity program, the Marriku Arts cultural experiences, and at Mossman Gorge, the Dreamtime walks and Welcome to Country ceremonies. Unstructured engagement is engagement guests have with our Indigenous employees. At Ayers Rock Resort, for example, the porters on arrival or on front desk, the waiters, waitresses in our restaurants, housekeeping, All these create opportunities to engage and share stories in an informal environment and understanding each other. So it's not that you have to be at a particular performance or a show or a tour at a specific time. These are ad hoc engagements throughout the stay. And that's through having Indigenous employees and working with Indigenous communities to have Indigenous employees throughout your business, not just in, say, a specific tour role. It's just the more and more the sharing of stories and engaging for travellers is just so incredibly important, and these are the memories they take away with them forever. To assist in the creation of future Indigenous employment, engagement and experiences, not only for Voyages products, but for tourism businesses across Australia, the National Indigenous Tourism Academy was opened in November 2011, as I mentioned a little earlier. With campuses at both Ayers Rock Resort and Mossman Gorge Centre,
1 minute.
We have up to 6 intakes of 6 intakes of 20 students from around Australia over a 12-month period, who study a Certificate 3 in a selection of courses including tourism, hospitality, retail and horticulture. The courses are a combination of on-the-job training and in-classroom learning. The graduates of the National Indigenous Training Academy present a great opportunity for tourism operators to employ trained Indigenous students with hands-on experience in the tourism and hospitality industry. Thank you. Hi. Of course.
Yeah, I'll just give you that. Oh, thanks. Where do you find a cultural advisor?
There's
Please
actually
move to your
quite a
next
number of ways.
Appointment
We did it
12.
through recommendation, and we've built a relationship. So we spoke with our local community and who they'd worked with previously, also with previous organisations, and got their recommendations of who we've worked with.
Thanks, Peter. That was great. So as we know, this is really loud, Indigenous communities are very diverse, as we know, and you're working into communities, obviously Red Desert country, rainforest country, really, really diverse cultures, histories, different places and where they're at in terms of engaging with business. So how do you, in terms of your thinking around how you engage with them, whether it's on similar types of issues or, I'm just interested in the process you go through organisationally and culturally to engage them.
It's thanks, Phil. It's really localised. So the conversations we're having with the Kuku-Yalanji people community up at Mossman Gorge, that's very different to what we're having with the Unanoo in the experience, in what they're wanting to do. It's really understanding what they're wanting to achieve, and then how do we work together. It comes back to that earlier point of one size doesn't fit all. So we actually have the respective management teams at Uluru. We have a whole Indigenous engagement team at Ayers Rock Resort, and given the scale in Mossman Gorge, it's a little smaller. But it's more to be that we're entrenched in both those markets and having regular conversations rather than just waiting till there's one major that needs to happen. And very importantly, like I mentioned, Roy Gibson from Mossman Gorge Centre. Roy is
appointment 12.
Keeping him informed of what we're doing, and likewise, it's always a two-way conversation of understanding both what the community are wanting and also running past the community what we're doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Peter. Thank you for coming along and sharing, the story and sharing
Pleasure.
What I think are really valuable principles for what is, I guess, a non-Indigenous tourism business to work with, two really diverse communities where culture is really strong.
Yeah.
And I mean, Uluru, that's something that the whole country feels is really important. So it's really important that we get that right.
Great. Thanks,
But
Phil.
thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.